Hey everyone, welcome to Emma Bean's Joy of Knitting with Gigi. I'm Gigi, and today I wanted to talk to you all about some of the newest, most inspirational and/or exciting patterns that have been released on Ravelry in October of 2025. So I kind of culled through Ravelry. I found a bunch of stuff that I find inspiring. I hope you find it inspiring. I will put a bundle link in my show notes description so you can go over to that site, find everything that I talk about in this video. And I hope you really enjoy it and become inspired as much as I have. So let's get started. Okay, first, I just wanted to tell you or show you what I'm wearing. So this is my Telly Bean Knits knit along, mystery knit along from October of 2024. And this was so cute. This was just like a color work cowl that I did. I'm going to bring it up a little bit closer so you can see because there's so many different elements to it. So we started off on day one with this striping, which I thought was so cute. It looked like little witches' stockings or something. And then I went to this, which it was a pattern, kind of a lacy pattern. And then the next day we did this spider webby kind of looking pattern. And then the day after that, we went to, this was really interesting. This was kind of a shell type pattern, a lacy one. And after that, we went to the color work. So the color work days included, some days we got the full color work chart, and some days we only got the top part, and then the next day we got the bottom part. So we have a witch's hat. I've got my cats. Let's see, what's this next one? Oh, the moons, the different phases of the moon. Then we have a potions bottle and crystal ball. And then the very last one, we have a cauldron. And then we did the bind off. What I did differently, the only thing I did differently was I added the black at the edging of the ribbing, which I really liked. I thought it was really cute. So today, in honor of Halloween, because we are in mid-October now, I just decided, I'm going to go ahead and pull out my Halloween cowl. I do have one for Christmas, so you'll get to see that one in December. Okay, so let's start with, I'm going to do sweaters first, and then I have a couple fun accessory items that I found that might be quick knits, cute gift ideas, anything that hopefully might spark your interest. Okay, so the very first sweater is called Neve, Neive, and it's by Natasha Hornby. So this is a pullover sweater, and excuse me for looking down, but I've got notes so I can tell you all about this. It is worsted weight yarn. It's knit with worsted weight yarn, and the yarn that she suggested and or used on this one was Yak Baby Yak Medium was the yarn. Again, I will put all of this in a bundle so you can go ahead and go into it, into my Ravelry bundle, and you can look up all the info on that. So the gauge on this is 19 stitches and 29 rows for a 10 centimeter or 4-inch square. And it is knit on 2 different needles. Obviously, the smaller one is the ribbing, and the larger one is the main body. It's knit on 3.5 millimeter or US size 4 needles. And the main body is knit on 4 millimeter needles or US 6 needles. This comes in 8 sizes, so size inclusive, and I did not include any sweaters that weren't size inclusive because I wanted that for all of you. Some of it, size inclusivity, I mean, on the higher end, I think you're talking about 7 or 8 inch difference, which could matter, but I tried the best I could to get stuff. I think 8 sizes is fairly good. So it goes from 105 centimeters bust measurement circumference to 176 centimeters, which in inches is 41.25 inches to 69.25. Here's what I love about this sweater. This sweater has the most amazing texture to it. It's all over cabling, but what you do is you start on the back side and you're knitting this way, not this way, but you knit this way, and then you pick up where you started in the middle of the back, and then you knit this way. Then, now let me see what she says because it's so interesting. It is a seamless construction, and you start with, again, in the back, the yoke going, shirt yoke in the back going sideways. And then she sees you're meeting the body's vertical lines for that striking visual contrast. I am going to scoot over this way so I can put up a bunch of pictures because I want to show you all of the projects that were done and all of the visuals, because to me, that's the most inspiring. Just one photo isn't going to work. So we're going to put a whole bunch up. So let me just scoot this way and then I can put everything up like right there. Okay. Anyway, so as we work to the outer shoulder, you put those stitches on hold, and then the left yoke is picked up from the cast on edge and you go the other way. Then once that's completed, your stitches are picked up along the lower edge of the yoke, and now you start knitting down. So think of it like a button-up shirt, and I think of a men's dress shirt where you have the yoke on the back, and that's, so you knit this way, you knit that way, and then we start knitting down. And then across the front, we just pick up at the shoulders and go down this way. It makes for such an amazing visual contrast. I really, really was inspired by this. I'm actually really thinking about casting this one on because to me, because I'm a process knitter, I love a challenge. I want to keep my neural pathways fluid and keep them going, and always keep my brain moving, because as we age, knitting is an amazing hobby because it really stretches the elasticity of your brain, and it's so important to keep your brain active. I tell my husband that all the time. He's in the health and wellness industry. Obviously, you guys, if you follow me, you know, because he works in the NFL and he is the wellness coordinator. He's over all of the health and wellness for all the players, which means the trainers, the rehab, the strength and conditioning that they do, the nutrition part of it, the equipment that they receive, everything. So that's kind of his thing. And he's been in that space for over 30 years now. So I always try to be really mindful of that, as particularly now that we're hitting 60 and we're getting to that age where you start really thinking about your mortality. All of our parents, except for one, have passed. My husband's mom is 97 years old, and she's on one medication, guys. One. High blood pressure. That's it. I would love to get to 97 and be that. And she still walks. I mean, she needs a walker because she has a bone-on-bone issue with one of her hips. But goodness gracious, I would love that. Wouldn't you? To get to that point. And she's adorable. She is so funny. I've known her almost my whole life. So that's the Neve. Let's go on to the next one. The second sweater came out in October 2025 is the Thoria sweater by Jeanette Knits. And this sweater is a pullover, and it's a really interesting thing. Jeanette lately has been really trying to experiment with different textures of yarns and by themselves. So, for instance, this one has, as you can see, there's striping and there's a pattern that goes in this one. The darker yarn in this sweater is a DK weight sweater. And then the colored one is a variegated mohair, held single. So what she's trying to do is not hold a mohair with a different weight to make fuzz, because that's what we normally do. She's trying to see, what can I do on my own with this? And I am waiting for my girlfriend Carmen to come. She's coming into town tomorrow, and she is bringing with her a sweater quantity of yarn for me. So she's bringing me her Yak DK in a blackish color, and whatever it is, it's going to match the mohair in a variegated colorway, which she calls City Lights, which I'm thinking is going to kind of similarly look like what Jeanette, her sample that she knit up. I'll show you some of the other people's projects, some of her test knitters projects. This is actually really, really interesting to me. So again, for me, I'm a process knitter. I want to do something that challenges me, that excites me, that keeps me engaged. So let's talk about this sweater. The gauge is 18 stitches over 26 rows. And again, it's using a DK weight. She does not have any suggested yarns on this pattern. So you can use whatever you have, whatever you can imagine. Just let the creativity flow on this one. It is knit on 3.25 millimeter needles, which is a size 3 US, and a 4 millimeter needle, which is a US 6. So the main body of it is done on a US 6, a 4 millimeter needle. She has 9 sizes, and they go from 104.5 centimeters up to 184.5 centimeters, which in inches for us in the UK or the United States is 41 3/4 inches to 73 3/4 inches. And that's the bust circumference. So that's usually our largest area that goes around our bodies, the bust. Okay, so that is the Thoria sweater by Jeanette Knits. This next sweater is modeled by a man, but it is a unisex sweater. It can be made for anyone. And the moment I saw this sweater, I just loved the pattern. It is called Call of the Wild Pullover by Patrick Griffith. And the colors in this, the way he knit it, I'm just like, okay, that's it, done. That's the way I want to knit it. It is so spectacular. I love, love, love the design on it. He says, let's see, let me look here. I love what he says on this one. So let me just read this to you. There is a quiet awe that stirs when you crest a mountain's peak after a long, breathless climb and behold the world unfolding before you. From that height, ridgelines ripple into the distance like waves of stone, each one fading softly into the sky, whispering of the vastness beyond. That feeling of wanderlust and wonder of the natural world is the inspiration for Call of the Wild, a woolen pullover sweater using colorwork, twisted stitches, and ribbing to create a topological tapestry of texture. Who wrote that description? Oh my gosh. Just reading that description, I am so inspired. I picture myself now at the top of the mountain, having hiked all the way up and looking at the vastness of the valley beyond me. Wow, that just calls to me. This is knit in DK. It's either heavy DK or light worsted, so you could do either. And he knit it on Farmer Daughters Fibers Hishkin DK. So that's the yarn that he used. It has a gauge of 20 stitches and 28 rows on 5 millimeter or size 8. So that's what you need for getting gauge. There are 2 other needles, which I had to go in and read this pattern so I could understand this. So the ribbing on the cuffs and on the hem are using 4.5 millimeter or size 7. So you're going down a size for that. But the neck is done on the larger needle on 5.5 millimeter or size 9. I don't know why, but it seems to work. So that is what we're using. But the main body is 5 millimeter or size 8. He has 10 sizes in this, and they go from 8.5 centimeters to 187 centimeters, or 32 inches to 73.5 inches. Very inclusive, really beautiful. Actually, I think this would make a gorgeous sweater for anybody, for a woman or a man, or you could do matching sweaters. I don't know, some people like that, and it's really cute if you can pull it off. So that's what he's done those with, and that is sweater number 3. Okay, this next sweater, I have a couple of thoughts on. First of all, I think it is absolutely spectacularly beautiful. I love this. Is an all over colorwork sweater, and I love this. The other thing that I have to give a caveat to is that the main color is spin cycle yarn or a color changing yarn. So with that said, it would be an investment to make something if you use the yarn that this person used. This is called the Happy Camp Sweater by Brienne Moody. And look at that. Is that not, oh my gosh, that is just gorgeous. I can tell you, here's my caveat. It is a pullover and it's done in a sport weight yarn. She used spin cycle dyed in the wool, but depending on the size, you need 6 to 11 skeins. And their skeins are like $36 a piece, which is a lot. I think this could be done in a variegated or a different way, but I will say the results of this are absolutely mind-blowing. I always like pinch to zoom in on my phone. I kind of went like this. Oh my gosh, the color work is just beautiful. So she used the main color is spin cycle dyed in the wool, and then she has 2 contrasting colors by Ritual Dyes. It's the Priestess line, the base, which is a DK, and she used one that has some white speckles in it, and then she used another one. I think that one's called Sea Anemone, and it's a blue with blue with white speckles, and then there's like a white one with blue speckles. You can go on Ravelry in that bundle that I put down and take a look at it. She did use the colorway Happy Pill for her spin cycle yarn, so you could get a lot of different moods out of this sweater depending on what colorway you choose to use for this. If anybody's really good at painting or using scrap yarn to fill in these different colors, that would be spectacular. I think this would be a really great stash buster. I can't even say that. Stash buster. Again, I think it would make amazing, amazing sweaters. I'm going to put up a couple of the projects the different test knitters did. She has 30 projects already in this, and it was only recently released. So let me tell you just a little bit about it. It is 26 stitches and 32 rows, again in the 10 centimeter or 4-inch square. And that is using the colorwork chart. Of course, you're going to have to use the colorwork chart because you're going to have to swatch in the colorwork chart because the whole thing is colorwork. So that's important. And with that, she used a 3.75 millimeter needle, which is a US 5. And then for the ribbing, she used one lower 3.5 millimeter, which is a size 4. She does say, Brienne Moody on this says that whatever you get gauge on, just go down 1 needle size for the ribbing. So whatever you feel comfortable knitting it on, if it's a 4 millimeter or size 6 or a 4.5 size 7, just go down 1 size for the ribbing. And on this, she's just recommending like a 1/2 inch to 1 inch of positive ease. So not a ton of positive ease on this. It comes in 8 sizes and it measures from 87.5 centimeters to 162.5 centimeters, which in inches is 34.5 inches to 64 inches. So that is the Happy Camp Sweater by Brienne Moody, which I think I'm actually going to cast that on. I actually do have a large stash of one colorway of some spin cycle, which might work. Although it is in neutrals. It's the House Blend color, if you want to look at, which is like blacks and creams and browns. So we'll see how that looks. That will be a really interesting one to do. I'll let you know later on in my podcast how that goes if I cast it on. Okay, sweater number 5 is the Rosman sweater by Cheryl Mokhtari, Mokhtari, and it is knit up in a sport weight, which is actually a fingering held with a lace. So she holds a fingering yarn with a lace yarn, a strand of mohair, and that gives you a sport weight. It is 17 stitches and 27 rows is the gauge you're shooting for. And that's on 5mm needles, which is a US size 8. So her suggested yarn is Isigur yarn silk mohair and Isigur yarn tweed, which I thought was really interesting. She also does the ribbing in a 3.5mm needle, which is a US size 4. And there are 11 sizes to this design. And so here's what she says. It's designed to fit a bust circumference from 75 to 150 centimeters, which is 29.5 inches to 59 inches. But the finished size is 107 to 184.5 centimeters. So this is looking like 25 or 30 centimeters of positive ease. In US, the finished size is 42 inches to 72.5. This is a very, very large, luscious, cozy sweater that you could just melt into on those cold winter days. That's why I picked it. I love it. It is fairly basic in its construction, but I just love the oversized feel of it and the fit of it. And with the mohair, if you're not sensitive to mohair or allergic to mohair, to me, that's just the softest, most luscious kind of fabric that you can put yourself in. So that's why I picked this one. I really like the construction on it. I think it's beautiful. It's classic. You can put it with some leggings. You can put it with a pair of corduroys. It's just gorgeous. So that is the Rosman sweater by Cheryl Mokhtari. Okay, this last sweater is an honorable mention. And the only reason I'm saying it's honorable mention was because it was actually released in September of this year, not October. But I'm including it because I really, really love it. And it is called the Nomad sweater by Veronica Lindberg, who is known as Kutovakika. I follow her on Instagram and I also follow her on YouTube. I love, love, love her designs. This is 2 fingering weight yarns held together for a weight of DK. I'm guessing you could absolutely just use a DK yarn with this. It has 17 stitches and 24 rows per 10 centimeters or 4-inch section. And it is knit on 3mm or 2.5 US size needles and a 5mm or size 8 needle. So the 5mm size 8 is the main body. The 3mm or the 2.5 is the ribbing. I'm guessing if you don't have a 2.5, which are kind of hard to get sometimes, you could do a 3.25mm or go up to size 3, US 3, that would work. It comes in 10 sizes, and here's the sizing. 92 centimeters to 103.5 centimeters, or 36.25 inches to 72.25 inches. What I really love about this is it's just very classic, very oversized, very cozy, and that blanket edge stitch on the edges is just spectacular. You could use any leftover DK yarn to do that, which I think would be lovely to do. So that's all of the sweaters. Now I have about 4 items that are just kind of accessories. Some of them are fun. They might be able to be gifts for people, whatever your heart's desire. So let's get into that. The first item is a vest, and it is called Bracken, Bracken, and it's by Tin Can Knits. They just put it up this month in October, and I think this is just beautiful. It does have a front placket with buttons, but you know what? I think what I would do is do 1 stitch of purl on either side at the end of the charting and do a center cable all the way up. Kind of think that's how I would work it. That would be me, but I would do it without the buttoning closure. I'd like to just slip it on. It is so beautiful. I love the honeycomb cabling. That is one of my favorites to do. It's a lot of fun. It is knit on a worsted weight yarn. And okay, so here's something interesting. The gauge is 30 stitches. 30 stitches on worsted weight using a 4.5 millimeter or US size 7 needle. How is that possible? Well, because she wants you to do it in the honeycomb cabling. So when that happens, when you're doing cabling, it pulls everything together. So 30 stitches is closer together because of the cabling. It pulls everything in. So that's how you do this one. The ribbing is done in a 3.75 millimeter or US size 5. Here's what's interesting. The sizing on this goes from newborn all the way up to a 6XL in adults. So that's 18 sizes that they spent the time to size for. That is unbelievable. So here it goes from 16.5 inches all the way up to 61.5 inches. So there you go. That is really size inclusive. We're going from newborn babies all the way up to 6XL in an adult. So that's the Bracken vest by Tin Can Knits. The next one is this adorable pair of socks called the Witching Hour socks by Renard and Dormy. And aren't those the cutest things you've ever seen? Look at the toes on those. I love the color work on this. I just think this is the cutest pair of Halloween socks that I've ever seen. It is done obviously in a fingering weight, and it's 36 stitches, 42 rows. So I'm guessing you put on 62 to 64 inches on the round for the socks. It is knit on 2.25 millimeter needles or a US size 1. So it is a little bit of a labor of love, but they're socks, so they go faster. I mean, who wouldn't love to receive those, or who wouldn't want to wear them? I love these socks. These are really, really cute. So that's the Witching Hour socks by Renard and Dormy. This next one is a cowl, and it's called Spinny Mountain Cowl. Look at this. I love this cowl. It's by Kate Agner, and it's done in a fingering weight yarn with color shifting yarn. So she used Knit Picks Chroma and Knit Picks palette yarns. This might actually work with that color shifting yarn. That might work for the Happy Camper sweater. And Knit Picks is going to be a much more reasonable, budget-friendly choice. So keep that in mind. You might want to look into that. Okay, so it's knit on 3.25 millimeter needles or size 3 and a 3.5 millimeter needles or US 4. There is no gauge on this. So what it is, it's long tubular. So it's knitting around the whole time. And you make this long, long tube, and then you fold it in on itself so that it hides all of the floats. And it's reversible. And then look at that cord there. So you could tighten it up. You could put it up around your head and tighten it up if it's really cold out. I think it's really cute. There, I'll show you some of these projects here. Most of the people show striping on the inside, but then there's this one that did this fabulous color work on the inside. Do you see that? Isn't that great? I love that. That would make a really, really lovely gift for somebody. So that is the Spinny Mountain Cowl by Kate Agner. This very last one is called the Aran Knot Scarf, and it is by Veta, V-E-T-A, Knits. She says that she designed this based on a high-end luxury stores knit that she saw there, and she thought, I bet you she just went over there and goes, I could knit that, right? Have you ever done that? I'm going, man, I could knit that, whatever. So I love this because you knit it and then you go down and there's this little loop inside. I'm believing it's double knit so that you could put the scarf through and then just have it fit perfectly. You don't have to wind it around each other. It is made to be about 85 centimeters long, but you can make it longer. You can make it a little bit shorter, whatever you want to do. It is knit in a worsted weight yarn, and the gauge is 23 stitches and 28 rows on a 4.0 millimeter needle or size 6 and a 4.5 millimeter needle or size 7. There are charts for this, but there's also written instructions, which I like because not everybody likes to do charts. So I like that they do that. And with this scarf, you also get the chart to do a headband if you wanted to do that too, which you get 2 patterns in one, 2 patterns for the price of one, which I thought was really spectacular. So that is all 10 of the knits that I have found that were released on Ravelry in the month of October. I hope that you have found some inspiration in this. I've actually found a couple things more that I want to knit, as if I need any more ideas to knit, because I have so many projects in bags with the yarn ready to go, and as soon as I get something off my needles, I get to go cast more on. I don't know if I'm coming or going at this point. You know what? I need more yarn, like I need a hole in my head at this point. Seriously, I really need to do more stash busting and not acquire any more yarn. Yeah, that's not happening. Okay, seriously, I don't know if there's any such thing as too much yarn, really, or too many stitch markers, or too many project bags, because they're fun and they make me happy. So I hope you find some joy in your knitting. Put joy in every single stitch. Thanks for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe, put on the notifications, ring that little bell, and give me a thumbs up. And please comment on the different designs, what you think. Give me suggestions of anything that you may have found on Ravelry that came out this month. And I hope that you have all kinds of knitting ideas now for fall and winter. Bye. We'll see you next time. And thanks for coming.